Greetings, students. Welcome back to Chapter 10, Keywords and Concepts. So as we're talking about things that motivate human behavior, I would say food is probably up on that list. So let's talk about satiation, or the feeling of fullness and satisfaction that comes after eating. You eat a nice big full meal, you feel full. That is satiation, right? And part of the role that gets played with that is leptin, a satiety hormone. Wow, that's a hard word today. I don't know why. Let's just skip it. It's a hormone which is triggered by food's passage through the gastrointestinal tract, and it's released by fat cells. So as you're eating, in addition to the fact that your stomach is filling up, giving you that feeling of fullness, your body is also releasing leptin the more you eat, saying, hey, you have had enough, stop. So that's what leptin is. Moving into set point theory, we talk about weight often here, especially in the States. This is something lots of people struggle with. This is the idea that each person has an ideal body weight, or a set point, which is very resistant to change. So this is the idea that every human being has a set point weight that would be the perfect weight for their body, and that if they get to that point, it is very likely that they will stay there. Okay? And then as we move into the physiological mechanisms for hunger, this is literally like when your stomach is empty, it contracts and it makes you hungry, right? Typically, a person then experiences hunger pangs. There's also chemical messages that travel to the brain and serve as a signal for you to go eat, right? When you get hungry, when you get those feelings that you need to eat. That's because your body is having a physiological response to a lack of food. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. All right, so we're kind of getting into a little bit with the sex stuff now. So animal research, because they're super useful, suggests that the limbic system, specific structures such as the amygdala, we learned about that role in emotion, and the nucleus accumbens are especially important for sexual motivation. And we figured this out because animals who had damage to these areas of their brains had a decreased motivation to engage in sexual behavior, even if they were still fully capable of that behavior. So if you're seeing this correctly, what that means, they still have all of the equipment necessary to reproduce, but they have no desire to reproduce. So we learned a great deal about that. Speaking of learning, remarkably little formal sex research had been done prior to the 1940s, until Dr. Alfred Kinsey did these famous surveys of the American populace, which led to these incredibly popular and incredibly controversial books. Some of his hot takes in 1940s, which sound funny to us now, were that women enjoyed sex and that homosexuality was actually quite prevalent, which really, really upset a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong, many questions have been raised regarding his methods, and they were honest questions, good questions. But it was a good start. He kind of gave us this idea that the sex we think people are having and the sex people are actually having are usually two very different things. So we'll get a little bit more into these processes in the next video.